Hi, welcome back to my travel channel. If you are short on time for a visit to Porto, this video is for you. I am going to show you some awesome places in Porto that you can visit on foot in a day or less. This video will provide a canvas for you to customize your visit to fit in your time available and focus on what interests you the most. It's like a free guided tour. But the guide, that's me, is not going to walk ahead of you babbling away, not caring if you are listening or even interested. This is not going to be a detailed description of every place you can visit in Porto. The guide is meant to be a starting point for your own journey of discovery. Make sure you stick to the end because I'm going to share my top 3 tips for a more enjoyable experience and provide you with a tool to make the most out of your precious time. Porto is the second largest city in Portugal and the capital of the north. Porto's occupation by the Moors was much shorter than in the southern parts of the country, resulting in a different feel and a nuanced culture. For Portuguese speakers, the accent is clearly recognizable, as are the language expressions typical of the city. Some would say there is an intense but friendly rivalry between Porto and Lisbon. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to hear more about the cultural aspects as we visit different sites in Portugal. For now, let's start our walk. I suggest we start at the Mercado do Bolhão, a must-see place in the city. Make your way to this market located on the corner of Rua Sá da Bandeira and Rua Formosa. O Mercado do Bolhão was completed in 1914, but planning started in 1839 when the municipality defined the area as a market. More recently, the original site has been remodeled and is now open to the public again. This market holds many multi-generational stands with several vendors having been raised in the market at a stall owned by their parents or even sometimes their grandparents. At times, the place can offer a chaotic market scene full of typical sights and sounds, not displayed for the many tourists that frequent the place, but as a natural expression of the local culture. You will find vendors selling their products with a typical call-out, pregão in Portuguese. Each vendor has their own, and it's interesting to see them competing for the client's attention. The building has 2 floors, and inside it has 3 distinct areas: fishmongers and butchers, greengrocers, and florists. On the ground floor, you can also find a couple of small restaurants where the meals are homemade and very affordable. This could be the ideal place for a hearty and delicious breakfast to set you right for your walk ahead. So now let's walk and visit the most amazing train station. I suggest you walk along Rua Formosa towards the town hall. This is not the shortest route, but it will take you down Avenida dos Aliados, regarded as the city center by many. The name Avenida dos Aliados translates as Avenue of the Allies and refers to the treaty between Portugal and the United Kingdom in the 14th century. Still in place today, the Anglo-Portuguese Treaty is the oldest alliance in the world. At the top of the avenue stands the town hall with its central clock tower. If you're up to it, you can climb the 180 steps to the top and be rewarded with an amazing view of Porto. As you travel down the gently sloping avenue, it is hard to miss the architectural flourishes that leap from the facades and roofs of almost every building, with their domes, spires, statues, and skylights. At the site of an old icon, the Café Imperial, you can now see a McDonald's restaurant famously dubbed the most beautiful McDonald's in the world. Both the interior and the exterior have been left unchanged, yay, including the Imperial Eagle. Inside, you can still enjoy the Art Deco stained glass and period chandelier. At the base of the Avenida dos Aliados, turn left and then right to reach São Bento train station. Located in Porto's historic centre and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the building housing the train station of São Bento was started in 1900 by King Carlos I and completed in 1916, but the train station itself has been operating here since 1896. The station mostly serves suburban trains as well as a couple of regional lines south and east of Porto. The Douro line is one of these and warrants a special mention. Trains on this line run along the valley of the Douro River with amazing riverine views. São Bento train station displays an amazing collection of more than 20,000, yes, you heard it right, 20,000 tiled panels, painted between 1905 and 1908. In 2014, the restoration works received the prestigious prize for train station architecture. The panels in the atrium show at the top the history of transportation, starting with the advent of trains. The large panels in the lower part of the wall show key scenes in the history of Portugal, and the smaller panels show scenes from local daily lives. This train station is well known for its tiles, or azulejos in Portuguese, but it also holds a secret tale of a whispering nun. When religious orders were extinguished in 1834, most convents and monasteries were closed, but in some cases they were kept open until the last resident passed away. According to legend, the last nun at this site resisted closure for 50 years and gave rise to the legend of whispering prayers being heard at night along its corridors. From São Bento station, we will now move to Porto's Cathedral. To get there, follow Avenida do Afonso Henriques towards the river and turn right into Calçada da Vendôma. There is a shorter way. You can cut across the street with a very long name on the right. The street name is Rua Teresa Vaz de Altaro. I warned you it was a long name. Built in the highest part of the city, Porto's Cathedral is a historical landmark in the old centre where the city was born. The construction of the cathedral began during the 12th century, but it was rebuilt and renovated numerous times throughout the centuries. That's why the cathedral is a mix of architectural styles. The large square around the cathedral was, during the Middle Ages, the ground where all the major commerce and trades of the city took place. It was also there, in 1147, that the Crusaders who came from northern Europe agreed to join the Portuguese army and help King Afonso Henriques in the conquest of Lisbon. As you walk through the cathedral square, you will find some of the best views of the city and the Douro River. Inside the cathedral, you will see a silver altar that holds a curious story. In 1809, when Napoleon's Grande Armée entered the city, a local resident painted the altar to hide the silver. The French troops never noticed and left the silver alone. Still inside, the Sacred Art Museum and the Gothic cloisters are well worth the visit. The entrance to the cloisters is located inside the cathedral through a door on the right. The cloisters date back to the 14th century and they are decorated with tiles painted with some of the scenes from the Bible. You can also visit the cathedral's treasury named Casa do Calbido, which features collections of its most precious possessions. And next, we're on to the river docks. There are several options to get down to the river, but I suggest taking the funicular railway. The funicular will take you down the steep cliff from Batalha, on the higher grounds of Central Porto, to the docks. The railway was originally built to transport port wine casks up the hill. The trip only takes a couple of minutes, and the views over the Douro and the spectacular bridge Dom Luís are well worth it. So to get there, leave the cathedral grounds and walk along Rua Saraiva de Carvalho towards Batalha. Turn right into Rua Arnaldugama. You will be walking downhill along the old city walls. Part the way down, you will see on your right the steps leading up to the funicular station. When you leave the funicular at the base of the hill, you will be on Cais da Ribeira. Along with the cathedral, Ribeira, meaning riverside, is one of the oldest neighborhoods of Porto. For years, Ribeiro was the place where everyone gathered in the evening for a few drinks and a chat. Fortunately, the trend is making a comeback. Here, you can find many restaurants, bars and craft shops, so if you want a taste of Portuguese wines and some delicious snacks, petiscos in Portuguese, this is the place. The old Rabelo boats can still be seen along the Douro's banks. Once, they were the main transport for the port wine caskets. Ribeira is one of the most visited places in the city. If you have the time, look around and explore the area. Church of São Francisco was established in 1245. Initially, it consisted of a small church and convent. A fire destroyed a part of the complex in 1832, and in its place the stock exchange was built. The church exterior is sober, to say the least. Just outside the main door of the church, you will see a large statue of St. Francis. Inside, however, the decor is a lot less sober. This church has 3 naves, coated in gold carvings. It is believed that over 300 kilos of gold dust were used to decorate the church's interior. The temple's ornamentation was, for a time, considered too extravagant, so it was closed for a few years. Our next stop is right next door. The old stock exchange was built in the 19th century by the Porto Commercial Association on the part of the church complex that burned down during the Liberal Wars. The palace no longer works as a stock exchange, but remains the headquarters of the association and is mainly used for major events and official receptions. Inside, there's a large central courtyard called Pátio das Nações, Courtyard of Nations, enclosed by a glass structure that lets natural light into the whole palace. In the hall, you can see different national coats of arms painted on the ceiling. Up the impressive marble and granite staircase, you will find several splendid rooms, such as the Golden Room, which, as the name implies, is covered with gold leaf, the General Assembly Room, completely decorated in wood, and the Arab Room, decorated in Moorish style, inspired by the Alhambra, where official receptions are held. You may choose to join the half-hour guided tours, which includes very interesting information about the palace and the history of Porto. To get to our next stop, the Clerigos Tower, walk up Rua de Ferreira Borges and turn left into Rua do Belmonte, and then right to go up the stairway named Escadas da Vittoria. Keep climbing until you reach the lookout called Mirador de Vittoria. You will need to catch your breath after climbing up to the Mirador, but the view is well worth it. Now, take Rua de São Bento da Vittoria. You will pass the monastery and church of São Bento on your left, as well as the Museum of Portuguese Photography. Clerigos Tower is on the right, a short walk along Rua de São Felipe de Neri. The Clerigos Church was built between 1735 and 1748, and it is topped by the Clerigos Tower, one of the most emblematic monuments in the city. This ornate 75-meter bell tower is arguably the city's most iconic silhouette. Given its high position, you can get some amazing 360 views of the city from the top, but you will have to climb more than 200 steps to get there. As you climb, you will come across 49 bells which form a large carillon. If you are in the bell tower when they start ringing, it can give you quite the fright. From here to our next stop is a short walk across the street and past the University of Porto. So, cross the Rua de São Felipe de Neri and walk along the gardens to Praça de Parada Leitão, past the Natural History and Science Museum. Turn right to continue along the same praça, having the University of Porto on your right and a number of cafes and restaurants on your left. If you're hungry, another opportunity for a stop. Ahead, you will see 2 churches separated by a very narrow house. These are the Church of Carmo, the Church of Carmelitas, and the house between them is called the Hidden House. The 3-story Hidden House, or Casa Escondida in Portuguese, was, according to legend, built to prevent any relations between the nuns of Igreja das Carmelitas and the monks of Igreja do Carmo. The house served as a residence for chaplains, the artists who worked on the decorations of the churches, and even the doctors serving at the church's hospital. The house is open to visitors with the entrance ticket to the Igreja do Carmo's museum and has various bedrooms, a living room and kitchen. The Igreja do Carmo, built in the 18th century, has an outstanding azulejo-covered exterior depicting scenes of the founding of the Carmelite order. This exterior facade of the church is richly crafted with a rectangular portal flanked by 2 religious sculptures. The interior of the church has a single nave with lavish gilt altars as well as several fine oil paintings. The Carmelitas church next door was part of a convent in the 17th century. The building has a classical facade with a single bell tower. Inside, the church has gilded wood carvings on the main altar and the lateral chapels. And as promised, I have a little something special to make your experience more enjoyable. First, if done non-stop, this walk would take less than an hour, but depending on how much time you spend in each location, it will likely take a lot longer. 2. The weather can be a bit unpredictable in Porto, so bring a rain jacket and dress in layers that you can add or remove as the temperatures change. And 3. See the map linked in the description below. Open it on your phone and use it while you walk. You can customize the walk to your interests and select the sites that you want to see. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check the map I have prepared for you in the link below. Let me know in the comments what other guides you would like to see.